and welcome to the In Focus series of Drishti IAS. I am Ritu and today's session is about food inflation and why it is rising day by day. And this session is important for your GS 3 perspective. So moving towards the points of discussion part. First of all, we are going to discuss the news. Then we are going to discuss that what is the take of RBI, which is Reserve Bank of India, on it. And then we are going to discuss the reasons behind food inflation in India. After that, we are going to discuss practice question for prelims. Before that, you have to like, share and subscribe to the Drishti IAS channel. Moving towards the news part. So recently what we have seen that vegetables, cereals, fruits are getting costlier day by day. And if we'll talk about that how it is getting costlier and why it is getting costlier, we're going to discuss all these reasons in this session. But if we'll talk about the data, so this is 6-month high, which is 9.4% in June. So this is of the latest data. If we'll talk about the rural inflation, so rural inflation spiked about 5.3 to 5.6. So there is a rise in rural inflation. If we'll talk about the urban inflation, so it has also rose by 4.2 to 4.4. So there was a slightly increase in month of June in comparison to month of May. And if we'll talk about the overall, so overall it is 9.55%, and for the what you can say urban area and for the rural area it is 9.2%. So it is almost similar, but in urban area it is more. So this is about the food inflation, and this news we are going to cover up in today's session. Moving towards the next one, which is about the RBI's take. It's very important to discuss that what's RBI's take on it. So we have consulted and we have taken reference from an article which is written by a member of RBI. Though RBI said that the views expressed by the authors are personal. So what the article said about the rising food prices in the country. So they are saying that whatever the food prices are rising in the country, they are transitory in nature. So what is this transitory? So transitory is just like for a temporary period, there is a rise in food prices and it will stable over a time. And they said that unlike last year, which was very much high and it was for a long time, this year will have a more stable condition. They are also saying that if there is a situation of food inflation like this will derail the path of disinflation. So what is disinflation? So there is an inflation, but the rate of inflation will slow. So this is called as the inflation or disinflation. So here they are asking that because of the rising food prices and food inflation, there was an unchange in RBI's repo rate, and from last 16 months it remains unchanged, which is the 6.5%. And what is the repo rate? So repo rate is a rate which is provided by RBI, on which rate it lends money to the banks. So that's why RBI is called as banks of banks. And if we'll talk about the food prices data of July so far, it shows that cereal prices increased, mainly driven by the wheat. The pulses prices has also increased, especially the arhar and tur. And if we'll talk about the edible prices, which had also recorded increase, especially in mustard and other things. So this is about the rise in food prices. But if we'll talk about that, it will be a temporary or it will be a more dangerous. So according to the RBI's recent article, it is transitory in nature and it will stable soon. We'll come to the another one, which is about what causes food inflation in India. So we must know this reason that there was a periodic rise in prices of tomatoes, onion, potato. So what causes these kind of food rise in India? If we'll talk about the tomato price rise, especially in today's context, it has rose by 50 to 70%, especially the onion also, potato also. So what is the reason behind thing? So first of all, the reason is that demand and supply dynamics. We have to understand that what is the demand and supply dynamics problematic when it comes to the India's food inflation. So India is a country which has a growing population with rising income. Yes, here you must not confuse. So here the population is also growing and a section of population whose income is also growing. So their purchasing power changed, and it is a rise in purchasing power, and because of that there is a more demand in the market and there is a lack in supply side, and because of that there is a mismatch between demand and supply. If we'll talk about that, what other problems? So other problem is India's agriculture output, which is facing multiple challenges: the climatic challenge, erratic rainfall, limited access to modern farming equipments, and that has created the mismatch demand between supply and demand and supply. So the climatic conditions, poor equipments, these reasons are also responsible for rising food inflation. And also India's food inflation is inefficient, and it is inefficient in control the food prices because of there's a lot of wastage in food. So according to the World Bank data, India loses about 40% of its food produced due to the post-harvest losses. And why we lose so much amount of food? Because we lacked storage facilities, we lacked modern equipments, and because of that also we can see that there was a constant rise in price of onion, price of tomato, because we grow so much of food but we are unable to store, we are unable to transport from one place to another place. So it lacks technology, it lacks storage, and it also lacks awareness about how to control the food from the rot and every kind of thing. So it basically it lacks the safety nets that how to prevent food from spoiling. So these are the problems, and because of that we can see that there was a constant rise in food prices. But this time it has expected that despite of low monsoon start, there are chances that India will witness a good sowing season, and if there will be the good sowing season for various crops, there are high chances that we'll get a good agricultural production and productivity, and we'll control this food inflation very soon. Now we'll come to the question part. The question is related to which of the following factors contribute significantly to India's food inflation, and here are the four options: excessive government subsidies for farmers, inefficiencies and waste in food supply chain, surplus production of food grains, and decreased consumer demand for food item. So you have to answer this into the comment section, and you have to also analyze that why India is still unable to curb the food inflation, and why there is so much wastage of the food crops, and why we are lacking this also despite of having good technology, despite of having good amount of knowledge. So what World Bank and other agricultural experts have suggested in context of India, that apart from this subsidies and apart from this various policies formulated by the government, they should also look for the safety measures of the food production and food prices, and there should be better facilities for the storage and everything. In Bihar, Buxar district, we have seen that there is a concept of silo godown. And what is this silo godown? So there is a large amount of foods which are stored there, and that for a long period of time. So there should be the promotion of silo godown all across the country, so that we can prevent our food from the wastage, and we can also prevent the food inflation, especially the sudden rise in prices of the onion, tomato and various seasonal fruits and vegetables. So that's it for today's session. I hope you like this session. If you have any queries related to this session, kindly ask in the comment section, and do read this topic for your mains perspective, that what are the reasons for the low agricultural productivity, why there's a rise in food prices, and you have to also make a question and also answer that if we make policies, why we fail to implement those policies, what is the lacuna behind implementing the policies. Especially India is agriculture based country, and it needs a good agricultural support from the government. So what is the role of government here, and how state should intervene into such kind of the matters. So thank you and have a nice day.
For more informative content, like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.